Warren Hall of Famer award. I'd love to hear a bit about your story as a pro athlete and like how you got into basketball and how you got here.
I think a lot of kids when they're growing up, Rachel, they want to go to the NBA. I didn't even think that was possible for me, which is why I think it almost happened. Once you turn pro, it's no longer about fun. You're playing to survive. Bro, why'd you stop? You're so good, keep going. But they're not living with the day-to-day doubt of, am I good enough to keep going after all this? I need to ease the stress of living with this choice and understanding that, like, I'm not gonna be doing this for too much longer.
What was your transition plan?
My transition plan? Shit. I went on Indeed and I put out a resume with nothing on it. Transition is not just an athletic thing, it's a people thing. Any sort of creative discipline, whatever it is, you're gonna go through things. They're important. Don't push them aside because you need to survive. Survive, but also deal with that as well. Because then when someone asks you about the topic, you'll break down.
Welcome to this episode of You Only Die Twice. I am the producer and co-creator of the podcast. My name is Rachel Hale. This episode we're doing a little different. Obviously, I'm doing the intro here. It's not our friend Warren. So many of our listeners have been reaching out to get to know more about Warren, and so we thought we'd recap season 1 by interviewing him. Before we get into it, don't forget the best way to support us is to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends, tell your mama, your cousin, them, everybody, okay? Without further ado, here's Warren Ward on this episode of You Only Die Twice. Warren Ward.
Rachel Hale.
Warren Hall of Famer Award. Let's just start right there.
That's what they call me.
I guess so. It's your new middle name. Personally, if I were you, I would have that on all my business cards, all my everything.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Social. Just saying.
Love that.
How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Feel great.
Yeah.
Feel good. Yeah. We're here. We're filming. This is episode 20. Believe it or not.
Episode 20 of You Only Die Twice. Okay, so we're here. We're going to talk about the recap of the first season that we did, but we also need to talk about how this even came about. How did You Only Die Twice be birthed? How was it birthed into the world?
Well, large in part due to you. We'll start there.
It's not why I'm asking the question.
Yeah. I think this came about when, first of all, I just got laid off from my tech job, my last job. This was like a year and a half ago, August. So last year, August, actually, July, just got laid off. And prior to that, I was thinking about this. And honestly, I'll be honest, every time I went out, people would see me, and I've been broadcasting now for 2 years. So people would see me and they wouldn't assume, but they'd ask me like, how's your transition been? Like, yo, I see you on TV. I see you in radio. Like, I see you broadcasting. I see you doing your thing, and doing your thing for some people means success. So, but internally, there was a bit of a struggle of like, I'm okay with not hooping anymore, but I felt like there was a lot of channeled conversation that I didn't have, and I didn't know where to have it. I didn't know who to have it with, that would make the process a little bit easier, because it's just an internal thing. So it came about by me getting asked about the question, and I'm like, well, shit, if I'm feeling like this, I know there are a lot of other people who are feeling it who may not want to say anything about it. And then I started to look at how no one was ever talking about this. You just glorify the process of being an athlete, and it's like, okay, that happened. 6 years I got to play, I got to live out my dream, and then I'm back here. I'm in a whole new career. I am doing a day job that I do because I get paid to do it. You know, it's like, it's not my passion. My passion was gone, essentially. The thing that I wanted to dedicate my life to was gone. And then you have to come to the realization, which I did, was that I chose to dedicate my life to something that I'd have to quit anyway. I wasn't going to be able to do it anyway. So that realization was a little bit challenging, but all encompassing. I wanted to find a way to put all that into something. I wanted to take the same passion I had from playing, from doing things that I didn't want to do, but I knew I have to do to live. And I wanted to put it somewhere. And that's how this came. And then honestly, I was blessed enough to know you and meet you under different circumstances, but then talk to you about this, and you were understanding and empathetic, and you said, this is a podcast. And I was like, okay, that's all I needed to hear. And I said, okay, like I want to do this. And one of the things you asked me that to this day I think about, you're like, how long are you willing to do this? And when people ask me now about podcasting, like, yo, you started one, you have a team, this is so cool. How long are you willing to do it? If nobody watches, which is what you said, if no one watches, if no one comments, no one shares, no one likes, how long are you willing to do it? And you said, do 2 years. See where we're at in 2 years. And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. 2 years, I'm going to put myself into this and dedicate time and put in effort and prepare and give, as you said, give life to this. And so we did.
How would you describe You Only Die Twice to somebody who has no context of what it is?
It's a good question. I would describe it as a platform for people to come and talk about the things they've said to themselves. That's what I would say. I would say that this is a place where you can come and discuss maybe the thoughts that you've thought about that no one else, that you haven't told many people. And I feel like that's what we've done here. We have made a space and a community of people that want to discuss things that they don't necessarily get to because no one cares, really. No one cares about this process. It's not something that is overly spoken about. So I would describe it as that. I would describe it as a place where people come to discuss their transitional successes as much as their transitional traumas per se. So the good things and the bad things. This is not a platform where we're looking for sympathy or we're complaining. Athlete transition is actually a privilege. I've already had a career. I'm on a second one now, a third one. I have 19 jobs. I'm basically Jamaican. So, like it's this is a place where people can come and express all the things that I think they think about, which is why our episodes, we have long form content because people love to communicate and talk about what they're going through. I hope that answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because it took you a while to mention that it was a athlete thing versus a people thing.
Yeah.
And I actually like that because, doing this, it is really a people job.
Yeah.
And you have to really connect with different people from all walks of life, all different sports. And even though it's focused on athletics, there's so many other things that come up. For you, so far, this is our 20th episode. What would you say one of the biggest takeaways is for you that you've learned while doing this?
About myself or about
Yeah, either or.
I have learned about myself that I am okay. I don't want to say being the scapegoat, but I'm okay putting myself out there to know and to know that with that being done, putting myself out there, knowing that it's going to help somebody else. I'm okay with that, and I actually take that on as a privilege as well. That doing this, regardless if someone says, "Yo, I watched your pod," or like it's actually helping me, I'm okay if not getting that or getting it. I think being public facing is not easy. You're susceptible to judgment. You're susceptible to people making fun of you. You're susceptible to the praise and not so much, right? You're susceptible to all those things. But I also learned that I have an innate drive to care about things bigger than myself. This is an important topic for me. And because of that, it's allowed me to push through all of that stuff. We know the commentary, some of the videos we've had. Right, getting thrown under the bus and made fun of and all that stuff. Like, I'm okay with that. It doesn't like, at first I wasn't, as you know, but I'm okay with it now. As long as the message of what is clear and communicated, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. And I think I've learned that about myself, and I think I've learned about the other people that have sit in this seat that I am someone that they are comfortable speaking with and that speaking to. And that's something that I think is amazing. You know, I've used my network of people that I've known, whether it's one conversation or two conversations or if not more. And I've had people sit here and open up to me. And that is something that I can't, the hour that me and these individuals get to talk, I can't say it hasn't helped me grow. Seeing how much other people have experienced, not only do I not have anything to complain about, I'm just thankful I get to listen, and as someone who talks a lot,
you've done great.
Yeah.
Great evolution.
Being on the other side of that and getting to listen to other people's stuff and just seeing how relatable it is to me, knowing that it's relatable to other people, again, that's a privilege. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Listening is a superpower and a lost art. So
I think you told me that too when we started.
Yeah, it's really great. And I'm obviously, sorry, I'm a producer on this show, and so we created this together, and it's been such a cool journey to create something that feels really helpful and cathartic for the people coming on the show, but also you. And watching your growth has been really great with that as well. You've done excellent. And
that's amazing. Thank
you.
So
proud of you. A+.
Thank you. With a lot of coaching.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Putting yourself out there. We're all doing that in different ways and learning from each other and the people that come on the show as well. It's great. I'd love to hear a bit about your story as a pro athlete and how you got into basketball, a bit of your origin story and how you got here.
Yeah, so my basketball journey was large in part due to my sister. I have two older sisters. I'm the youngest of three. My parents came from Guyana. They are not per se athletes, although my dad would say otherwise. So shout out to him. But I come from two very strong people who put their family first. And I only got to play basketball because of the sacrifices both my sisters and my parents have made for me. So Janelle, my second sister, the oldest is Ashley. Janelle was a phenomenal basketball player. I was a soccer player growing up. So when we moved to Brampton from London, I started to grow. And I just kind of felt like I love soccer, but I didn't love it to play it anymore because I wasn't as good. But I was always naturally good at basketball. I just didn't take it seriously. So when I got to Brampton at 13, I just had friends, Akeem, Kamish, a bunch of my boys in high school. From the 9th grade, I started to play basketball. And by the time I was about 13, I was like, yeah, I know what I want to do. I want to be a professional basketball player. Then I started going to camps, 5-star, and I started doing things that kind of got me exposure. But back in those times, literally like 2-3 years of time, it was really hard to go Division I. Like, no one had done it successfully to the point where it's like you're at the Kentuckys and the Dukes and the stuff that we see now. It wasn't like that.
It was just very rare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had a lot of guys,
right?
We had a lot, but he's very rare for him to do that, So it's like there were people who went, but even still, it wasn't as prominent as it is now. So I had to make a choice when I got to high school. I had to decide, okay, what path do I want to take? And to be honest, I didn't have maybe the belief and confidence in myself that if I went D1, I would be able to stay all 4 years. Like I had Wabash Junior College offered me a ride. I could have gone to junior college. I had to go JUCO first and then go D1. I could have done that.
Yeah.
I could have, but then they were like, you could choose any school, whether you Syracuse, Indiana, whatever. They like 2 years here, you can go anywhere. My family was more about education, and I just didn't want to take that risk. I didn't want to bet on myself in that regard and go D1. I was like, if I go to Ottawa U, I remember I came home from a camp in Detroit, and the phone rang, and Dave DeVero was on the phone. He sounded like an American. Dave DeVero was my university coach. He recruited me to University of Ottawa. He sounded like an American. And at the time in my head, I was young, so I'm trying to get to America, but I'm not. But I'm like, this guy sounds American, so let me just go see what's up. So I go to Ottawa, fall in love with the school. I decide to go there. I become what I thought. By the time I left Ottawa U, I was so confident in my ability because I was a big fish in a small pond. This entire country knew my name. I was one of the marquee players here. And not just because of, like, playing basketball, it's the way I played. And I think that's because there's a lot of people who play basketball, but the way you play is memorable. And now that I'm 34 and people still, young kids, whoever, they still come up to me and say, it's the way you did things. And it's like, and to me, that's what makes somebody great. I'm not saying I am, but I'm saying like that's what makes someone, like if you're a marquee player, it's the impression you leave on people. And I felt as though that's how I played basketball. I was a entertainer, a sportsman, I like to call myself. So that's how I got into it, and that's what I fell in love with. I fell in love with performing. I fell in love with playing the game to be memorable, playing the game to win, and playing the game to be better than I was literally every single year. And I did that over 5 years, University of Ottawa, and then I got an opportunity to go play pro. Within that time, though, injuries came. And the first one was in 2012, which is why I had this tattoo on my leg. I tore my ACL. And you know, I think a lot of kids when they're growing up, Rachel, they want to go to the NBA. I didn't even think that was possible for me, which is why I think it almost happened. And when I came out of school, I went to this camp in Impact. I went to this camp in Las Vegas called Impact. And within a week, I was just a no-name Canadian to then someone who potentially could be a draft pick. I wasn't eligible, didn't get drafted, no big deal. My goal was to go overseas and have a career. I wanted to be a millionaire playing basketball. That didn't happen for me, but that was my objective. And this injury came first. After that was my Achilles 3 years later. I tore my Achilles. And then finally, when I was getting a chance to, I thought, revamp my career at 28, I was in Spain. I told my agent at the time, give me 6 months and I will go to the ACB in 2018. January 28th, 2018, I'm doing a Euro step. It's funny because me and the guy that injured me, we both retired that year. He stopped playing, and I said I'm done as well. I'm going up for a Euro step. I get a steal. I'm running down the court. I get to the free throw line. I do 1, 2. As I go to take off, he hits my hip. My left knee buckles, and that was it. That same day, my agent called me and said, "Hey, a team in the ACB was looking to buy you out of your contract." My buyout was 500 euros, so dirt cheap. That was done on purpose. So I said to myself, well, if this was where, because I had overcome 2 injuries prior to, I thought about quitting, didn't do it, come back for a third time. I said, if this happens again, I'm done. I go now, and I'm getting my opportunity just when I think I can now build my life around this from 28 to about where I'm at now, 34, done. So I said, okay, this is not for me. I keep pushing the envelope, but this obviously is not for me. If it was for me, I wouldn't have this type of luck, right? But throughout this time, and this is what my leg tattoo says, it said, it's not the strongest who survive, but the ones who remain most adaptable to change. That has been my life in this journey. Change. Every 3 years, change. So I'm not new to it. And that's been my journey, change, you know, and I relish in the fact that I was able to overcome all that, because now that pressure and the thoughts of like, what am I going to do? And once you turn pro, it's no longer about fun. You're playing to feed your family if you have one. You're playing to survive. You know, you're building a life. You're taking the risk of building a life around this. And I made that choice, and I said, okay, at 28, now I have to live with the consequences of it. There's consequences, both good and bad. And the good consequences of basketball is that it's brought me here. I'm right here because of basketball. I wouldn't know you without basketball. I wouldn't know anyone in the room without basketball. But the shit part about that is the physical things that I've had to endure. And that's been my journey. That's been my journey.
Yeah. There's so much juiciness in that we need to go back to and revisit. First of all, I'm like,
I
where do we start?
I was talking for a lot. I know, my bad.
No, I love it, and I appreciate you being so candid about it too, because, you know, hindsight is 20/20, right? But I really want to take you back to the moment that you were injured, and you had told yourself before that happened, if it happens again, I'm done.
Yep.
Where was your head at when you got injured, and also saying that to yourself before you got injured, knowing that the transition was like, you know, this thing that sort of in the distance? What did you feel about that transition at that time? And I want you to go back to how you felt, not with the the insight that you have now, but I really want to take us back to like the vulnerability of that moment and the vulnerability of that time deciding to transition.
Well, I think after the Achilles, the way that happened, that was February 15th. February 15th, like 2015. After that, I said I was on borrowed time. So I knew my expiration date with this game was coming to a fast halt. Mm-hmm. Physically, I just couldn't do it. So we move forward, and I said to after the Achilles, I said, okay, one more happens, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't want to keep doing this, not so much the physical part, but the mental part, the part of like, you're going to be fine. Don't worry, keep going, because that's what people will tell you when you're an athlete. Don't, bro, why'd you stop? You're so good, keep going. But they're not living with the day-to-day doubt of, am I good enough to keep going after all this? Because mind you, I'm losing time. When other people are playing and training and getting opportunities, now it's like I have these things that will deter other coaches from wanting to take a chance on me because I'm now injury prone. You know? So, and then not to mention, it's hard to get back to elite level playing when you're not physically all there. So I was flirting with that all the time, and I just said to myself, like, I need to ease the stress of this. I need to ease the stress of living with this choice and understanding that, like, I'm not going to be doing this for too much longer. And I kind of felt that and knew that, but I don't want to say I didn't want to quit, because that's not the way I look at it. I didn't want to have to adapt that soon.
What was your transition plan?
My transition plan?
Mm-hmm.
Shit. That's what my transition plan was, a laugh. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have one. If I'm going to be, I didn't have one. I didn't have a transition plan. I had a little bit of money. I had the thought that, you know, I'd start a business, or I had the thought that I didn't have a plan. I had thoughts. I had no plan.
So when it ended, you got that injury, you're just like, I'm done.
Yep.
What did you do?
I stayed in Spain till the end of the season, because luckily I played for a really good club and they loved me and they saw how much effort I gave, and that team was not in a position where they were in the playoffs at that time. When I got injured, we were. So we were on our way. I stayed in Spain, came back home, had the surgery, and then I went on Indeed and I put out a resume with nothing on it, just my basketball experience. And I worked at the Bay with my mom, because my mom worked at the Bay, still does. And that was my working experience. So I put out a resume on Indeed, and because I went to St. Margaret de Ville and University of Ottawa, a woman by the name of Stacy Towers thought I spoke French. She called me and said, "Hey, Warren, I'm a recruiter. I work at this company called Apple One," or at the time, Bilingual One. Saw your resume, very interested in you. Would you come into Mississauga? I said, yes. I had nothing else. I just rehabbed, so I was burning money rehabbing. And I did it in London as well, so I was away from home. Shout out to my friend Rebecca Selden. She had me in her house while I could rehab my knee. Didn't charge me. Just did it because we're friends. So shout out to her for that. And I am done rehabbing. I come back here and I go to Bilingual One, and Stacy finds out I'm not French, but she liked me. And that's how I got that job. So I now had a job here in Canada, and then I decided at the time, during my playing days, what I did do was I talked to everybody. So I would mingle and socialize, and I was thinking about, again, I had thoughts, what else am I going to do when I stop? But I didn't want to broadcast as I'm doing now. I wanted to do what like Dwayne Watson was doing, which was like running Crown League and producing shows. And I tried even getting to the NBA front office, but then I got asked, would I be willing to work for free for a year? Fuck no. No, I'm not doing that. Like I don't like the idea that just because I come from an athletic background, I have to start at the very bottom. No, I have skills and things that I can do that equate to some form of living standard. And I wasn't getting that. So I took the job at Bilingual One because I felt it was corporate. At least I'm in this corporate space. I can play this game and maybe work my way up like everyone else does. And that was my, that became my plan. I was forced to do things I didn't want to do because I had no choice. Mm-hmm. It's either I'm living at my parents' house at this time. I have to make money. I had to go ahead and take the job. And I did. And it taught me a lot, but it was hell. I was at that job watching Instagram highlights of people I played against, played with, overseas enjoying their life. And I'm like, why am I here doing this? Mm. I used to go to the bathroom for 20 minutes at a time and just sit on the toilet because I didn't want to do the work. I'm being dead ass honest. And just either play chess, which is when I started playing chess, or watching highlights of like Johnny Burhane and people I played with, and just watching them overseas and being like, shit, I wish I was still doing that. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. And I did that for like 6 months. Not in like a jealous way of watching. I just was like, like they don't even know what I would do to be doing that. Mm-hmm. They don't even know. Mm-hmm.
Wow. With that transition and the vulnerability of what you just shared, it's a very humbling experience, right?
Big time.
Bringing it back to doing this podcast and like hearing that was your experience, what would you really want to instill in the people that you're interviewing on the show from your own experience?
That's a really good question. I think what I'd want to instill into people who are watching, I think one, that transition is not just an athletic thing, it's a people thing, where people are going through multiple transitions, whether you're a photographer, any sort of creative discipline, whatever it is, an artist, whatever, that you're gonna go through things. They're important. Don't push them aside because you need to survive. Mm-hmm. Survive, but also deal with that as well. Don't let it fester, because then when someone asks you about the topic, you'll break down. As I have done. Mm-hmm. You will break down. When someone pushes the right button and asks you about the question, or asks you something that you've been asking yourself or saying to yourself for a while, you will break down. Mm-hmm. Or you won't be able to answer. And I would encourage people to deal with it. Don't, and also own it. Like, It's okay to be done with what you're doing or whatever you're doing, or transitioning or going through something else. It is okay to move from this thing to the other thing. You're going to have to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So deal with it, embrace it, and be proud of whatever it is you do on the other side of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think that's a great point to like start to talk about, your favorite moments of season 1 transition. So hearing that story of yours, and then also your what you want people to take away from the interviews, and what would you say are some really standout moments from the interviews that we've done so far?
I got to start with Jermaine's because he was first. Just telling him how much of an influence he was, and me thinking that I too was a professional, the things I watched him do, and me learning about that when I got over there when I was in Germany, when me and him were teammates. I think that was a real standout moment for him, for me, because I never told him that, and I was never comfortable enough to just show love like that. Not like on a camera, with someone else there. Like I would have told him, but to do it that way, and also going out for lunch with him. He's the only guest who had to go out. I had to take him out for lunch and sit down and explain exactly what I wanted to do. And he was like, okay, I'll do it. And that was a big moment for me because he's not outspoken. But then he messaged me afterward and said, you know, a lot of people learn stuff about me that they didn't know about. And I thought that was amazing. That was amazing. That made it all worth it.
Yeah.
So that was very important for me.
Shout out Jermaine Anderson, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And all the work he's doing.
Unsung hero in Canada and
big
basketball.
Time.
Such a role model for so many people.
Big time.
And never needs the credit and deserves all of it.
There you go.
Truly.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Mullings was a big one for me because I asked him to do it. We spoke about it and he showed up and he was open about everything. And I think a lot of people in Toronto who love him and respect him as he deserves watched because of him.
Absolutely.
Watched because he decided to open up and share what they're thinking, just don't say. And he said, we're developing this side and we're starving that side. And then he said acceptance. And every time we talk about acceptance, where we are right now. We're accepting where we are as men. We're still involved in the game, thankfully, but we don't play it anymore. We can save our knees. That was the moment.
Yeah. Acceptance was huge. I think that's a big theme throughout the season too, and like people say it in different ways.
Yeah.
And you know, even in my own athletic journey, you know, I played D1. I went
to
Howard.
Tell them.
Went to Howard. I was actually a multi-sport athlete.
Come on.
I'm also an athlete, retired. I never went pro, but it was my life. It was my identity until my sophomore year. And I was like, I'm not going pro. I'm not doing the Olympics. This is not. I'm like, what else am I good at? And I was still in a university setting, so it was helpful, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I threw myself into my major, and I was like, you know, into film, TV production, and I just was like, I love this. I want to like explore this, and this is the perfect place to do this. So I was lucky to have that, like, you know, space, really inspiring space to be in at the time. And I know it's not always like that. You know, like, you know, Natalie we interviewed, she's going the distance, and she's like, I know I can't go that much further, but it's like, she's developing herself as she goes. So I think the acceptance piece is like, I love this, although it's not forever.
Exactly.
And it's like across the board, people have to deal with that, not just in athletics, but like in life as well. Yeah. And the sooner we accept, the sooner we can move on and plan for other things. So
absolutely. And
I love that.
I think I missed that part when you said that earlier. Like, this shit was my identity. People who know my name know me for basketball. They don't know me for chess. They don't know me for anything else that I'm really good at. Silent phones.
Whoops. That's like
technical foul. Rachel.
I didn't even know an alarm was on. That's crazy. Sorry.
You know, no, I'm joking. No, like people know my name for that sport. So for me to say and not be like, oh, basketball is my identity. Well, what else is? Like, what? How am I gonna walk around and be like, he's Warren Ward, basketball player?
What else is your identity now?
Son, brother, and I'm gonna steal May Kotsopoulos. This is why I loved her interview as well. May Kotsopoulos said she is everything that nothing can be taken away from her, and that's what I am as well. I am a son, I am a brother, I am a friend, I am. Go watch that episode and everything she said. That's what I
am. May Kotsopoulos.
May Kotsopoulos. I'm all the other things that no one can take from me. And that's what I wrap my identity around now. And, you know, I am growing and ever flowing. You know, I think the best part about where I'm at in my life right now, regardless of like stresses and pressure and stuff that I deal with, I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. And for whatever reason, thus far in my life, the people that are around me, they stick with me. They stick with me, and they believe in everything I'm doing. So that's a testament to me and my personality, but it's also a testament to what other people see in themselves and see in me. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the people that continue to rock with me. Like that's my identity is that as well. It's the people that pour into me because I'm literally sitting here but standing because of that. So without the support around me, I don't think I'd have an identity. I think I would just be lost in the world. Yeah.
That's beautiful. seeing then feeling the reflection of your community and yourself and your community is really powerful.
Most definitely. What community makes not this episode, but the community makes the pod. Like, look, we've done 19 people. I mean, Tristan sent me a thing when we started. 98% of podcasts don't get to 20 episodes. We
Shout out to you.
Shout out to us.
Shout out to you too, Tristan.
You know, like we're at 20 episodes. That's amazing. That's amazing. 20 different people. I mean, I can go through each episode and think of something. Andrew Nicholson just being prepared and being humble. You know, Joel Anthony not having a lot, but thinking about the view when he talked about his views of Miami. Look how far he came. I do the same thing in my condo today. I look at that view and I remind myself where I'm from and where I've come from and what I've had to deal with and the people that have helped me sit in that in my space now. You know, so many different people. There's been athletes on this podcast who talked about them being pregnant and competing pregnant with no sponsorship deals. You know, that's mind-boggling. Kevin Rempel overcoming a fall off a motorcycle and then deciding to go into hockey and you know and making that now his identity and then dealing with that afterwards and then now seeing him in life and now he's coaching and doing other things. Like all of that stuff is helped me grow in the past year. So and every episode I've taken something from. Yeah.
And we hope the audience does too, right?
100%.
Is the point.
Yeah.
And also the people who are being interviewed take something away. What are some of your proudest moments with the podcast specifically?
Some of my proudest moments are having everyone in the room. I'm like exuberant when everyone's in the room. Like that's one of my proudest moments, just having the entire team in the room and we're filming. Because, you know, we're gonna be honest, like ain't nobody getting paid. You know?
It's passion.
But it's not just my passion. It's your passion. It's Ray's passion. It's Tristan's. It's Ellis's. It's Claire's. It's everyone's passion for this. Being here, giving up your time to do that, and I'm proud of that. I'm so proud of that you care enough and you're selfless enough to put something else in front of you and then just seeing where it goes. Like I'm proud that I have that gives me a lot of life. It gives me a lot of there's been times when I've come home, I've had games, I've broadcasted games, I've worked all day long, conference, whatever. I had to write the interview 12, 1, 2 a.m., whatever. I'm doing it because I know Tristan will be up cutting the video once we film this. I'll have nothing to complain about. I'm going to write the shit. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do the research of the guest and find out everything I need to find out that I want to talk about. If I have to use ChatGPT, I'll use that too. But I have no problem doing it because I know other people are making sacrifices. You sit here and you say, we talked about Natalie's shirt. You can't wear. I said, come as you are, wear whatever you want. You're like, Warren, you can't do that on the show. Little tidbits like that, like those are so valuable. So all that stuff, you thinking about that, you care enough about that to say it. I mean, how can I not be like proud of that? That's the stuff that I think gives me a lot of life. Also, just the fact that we've been fucking consistent, and no one could take that from us. Every 2 weeks, you're getting a new episode. Every 2 weeks.
For the most part.
For the most part. Yeah. For the most part. For the most part. You're getting a new episode. And we've done it. The intros, I mess up the intros all the time. We have jokes about that all the time.
It's a process.
Right? And like, still, we're doing it. There's been times, oh my God. I'm blanking with his name, but I said there's been 8 black Leafs to play, or 8 black hockey players to play on the Maple. It's
Mark Fraser?
Mark Fraser. I messed up the interview. My memory's bad, as you know. So I'm legitimately messed up saying that, but it doesn't matter. We just keep going. It's like I'm proud of the consistency that I can say, hey, we saw something through.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, including myself, you know how many businesses I've started, Rachel?
Yeah, same.
You know how many things I've started and not been able to see all the way through? So at least for this year, we've done that. And we're growing. We have more to do.
Speaking of which, what are the goals? What do you see, where do you see this going? Blue sky vision.
Oh my God. I mean, the way I see this going, I want this to be the biggest pod in the world. That would be so beautiful to have a platform for not just athletes, but we'll see when people, like I want to know what people have done with careers that are short. So prime example, what does a model do when they're no longer considered at that peak level? What do they do? Take their money and live off of that? Well, if an NBA player is making $5 million for 3-4 years and he or she or whatever can't live off of that for life, what do models and other business professionals, dancers, creatives, photographers, a musician, what do they do with the rest of their life? They have a little bit of fame, a little bit of stardom. What do they do? What's their process like? Who cares about what they're doing? So I'd love this to just not, and to me, those people are athletes too, just in a different way. So Blue Sky, we interview some of the people I look up to, some of the athletes that I would love to sit down with and know their plan, regardless of their money, because money does not, it helps this, but it doesn't remove it. So I'd love to know what some of those people are doing. And if we can get to a level where we get to sit down with, the upper echelon of athletes, the Roger Federers, the Lewis Howes, the people that I would love to just have a conversation with about their process, and I want to ask them because when those people retire, there's a whole ceremony. There's a whole bunch of their peers sitting down, and the entire world is watching, and they're crying because they know this is it. What comes after that? What do they do the next day when they're by themselves in their big house on their beach looking out at the ocean and sipping orange juice? What are they thinking about? How do they find meaning in something else the way they did? Because to me, that's the ultimate challenge. It's like, I'm lucky that I haven't gotten to that point. I'm also unfortunate, but I'm lucky because I don't know what that drop off would be to be at the highest height of the world in this one field for 20 years. Like, I don't envy Tom Brady and LeBron and those guys. I don't, because they're going to be known for the rest of their life for this one thing. If Tom Brady became I said this about Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan became a world chess champion, he would still be Michael Jordan. Even it's not harder to do. I get that. Maybe, well, to me it is. I play chess, so to me it is. But to have your brain function like a computer, the way Magnus Carlsen's does, and whoever else is the best chess player in the world, I think that's so impressive. But no one's gonna care the same way they did about Jordans. They're not gonna care about the shoes. If he came up with chess shoes or whatever, they won't care about the same way they care about these. So how does he now find purpose and value in life when you've reached the pinnacle? Where's your meaning come from? Like, I still have something to look forward to. I haven't reached that point in my life. And I may never get there, but I still have something to try and get to, strive for. So I would love to know what those people do, and if what I'm saying is actually accurate. If they feel that way, or do they feel like I can rest now? I've done what I need to do for the last 20 years. I can rest. I doubt that that's what they think, but
it's interesting to me. I think talking about the impact of the podcast for me is the goal.
Of course.
Right? And expanding the impact, and the goal for me and why I'm here and doing this and believe in it and working on this consistently is I would like this to be a resource for people to heal, because it's a really tough spot and transition to be in when you are known for something like we talk about. Feel like your skill set is within one area, one very specific niche thing that it's like a ticking time bomb as far as how long you can do it. Or just me being a very multi-passionate person, throwing myself into different things and also starting something over and over again, needing that variety. For somebody like me, this is also a place I can come and be like, well, I'm getting inspired by the way other people have transitioned. I'm getting inspired to hear, oh, you just beginner's mind, or you are just like Natalie is like, you do hard things. We can do hard things. We have to start over and we have to be okay. And under pressure, handling pressure. And one of my biggest takeaways from this season has been the amount of skills that you get as an athlete.
Yeah.
That are, you can look at them as like, oh, I'm an athlete, I know how to do it. But when you take it away, you're like, problem solving, communication, conflict resolution, time management,
Dealing with other people.
yeah, your body, your intake of what you're eating, like, managing like all of those things that for high performance.
Yeah.
Your business skill set as far as like recruitment, how are you talking to people, how are you socializing with people, things like, there's so many skills that I've looked at differently from and realized where I get them from, also from my athletic background.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I read this article when Michelle Obama, and when the Obamas were out of the office, she's my president, but when Michelle Obama was out of the office, and she's like, I went home and I was like standing there, I think it's from her book actually, and like standing there in the kitchen, and she's just like making a morning tea, and she's like not in the White House anymore, and it's like, that's, talk about like a fall from
right?
great, or not grace, but just a fall of like such a different reality.
Secret
all of a
Service
sudden
around you telling where you gotta
yeah,
go.
she's like, okay, can I just like, it's like, how do I navigate this now, right? So somebody even on that level of like a completely different lifestyle, it's like everyone has to deal with transition in so many ways. And I think for me, like, that's why I'm here. That's why we're doing this. It's like giving you can apply so many things across the board.
Yep.
Every human emotion can be boiled down to love or fear.
Yeah.
I don't even think hate is a real one. It's love or fear. Hate is a derivative of fear to me. And so it's like, if we can touch on those, themes in life and bring these impactful stories and experiences that people have had so viscerally, over the years and in different ways, and it all comes down to something that can make sense to no matter what your walk of life is, that's where the beauty lies, I think, in the storytelling of this too.
So just cut everything I said and just use that. It's pretty much applicable. I was thinking, I just didn't know how to articulate it like that.
No, this is it, right? And
Absolutely.
I think, our team is so passionate. I'm really grateful to be a part of it. And I'm grateful to you for putting yourself out there and being the voice and the face of this, and being such a team player and so eager to grow and learn. And I think, hearing about your story, you've had so much growth in your transition of like, being depressed and down and out and like not knowing what to do to, doing sales, doing what you had to do, and like really fighting through those moments of humility and sticking with it like, okay, I'm a beginner, taking tech sales into now broadcasting and like, growing within that and, still seeking out like more growth. How can I get better? All of those things. And I want to give you your flowers as far as like watching you and being your friend and like, really watching you put yourself out there. It's not easy.
No,
and
thank you.
I'm just really grateful to be a witness to that in you.
Appreciate
and I'm
that.
grateful that we're here and get to do this all the time. And
that's love.
as we always end, we have to do for 3.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Warren Ward.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Let's do it for 3.
Let's get into it. Okay, let's do what I do. Warren Ward.
Yep.
For 3 is the game that we play
Yep.
at the end of each of our episodes. It's so funny that I'm doing this.
This is hilarious. This is hilarious.
So you can answer with a short sentence or a word
Okay.
when I give you the prompt.
Okay, absolutely.
Basketball is
Love.
You Only Die Twice is
A new beginning.
Warren Ward is
Adaptable.
Bars. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really good. Wow.